Hello and welcome to another video for Midas Touch Toys, Games and Collectibles. And today, well, we've got something very old, very rare, and now extremely collectible. We are looking at the 1970 release by IPC Magazines of their brand new comic strip magazine or newspaper called Scorcher. And this was a super new paper as it was advertised for all football fans, and it was basically for boys and girls that really liked football at the time. It was a British comic magazine. It was published between January 1970 and October 1974, where it finally disappeared. It featured well-known comic strips such as Billy's Boots, Bobby the Blues, and Lags 11, and Hot Shot Hamish. And some of these comic strips continued after the Scorcher comic finished. They made their way into books like Roy the Rovers and Tiger. Now there was 248 issues of Scorcher on its own. Now there was a merger in between that. It did actually merge with Score, which was initially called Score and Raw, and that was launched in September 1970, and it merged in July 71 with Score and became Scorcher and Score, before it finally merged into Tiger to become Tiger and Scorcher. And obviously as the two comics merged, they were pretty much had equal prominence for a while, until obviously with all those magazines at the time, after mergers, the titles get reduced, and it became the Scorcher name becomes smaller and smaller until it was finally absorbed into Tiger, and really disappeared for good. So in total, with Scorcher in the title, there was a total of 548 of those comics issued. So there were 77 issues of just Scorcher on its own, which was 10th of January to the 26th of June 1971. 10th of January 1970, 26th of June 1971. Then there was 171 issues of Scorcher and Score, which ran from the 3rd of July 71 to the 5th of October 74. And then there was 300 issues of Tiger and Scorcher, which ran from the 12th of October 74 to the 30th of August 1980, when Scorcher finally then disappeared. There was also 14 editions of the Scorcher Annual, which were published between 1971 and 1984. Anyway, this is that fantastic first issue of that comic, or comic magazine, newspaper, whatever you like to call it. So this is the front cover. We've also got the free gift here as well, which is your team records. Now we'll have a look at that in a moment. I'm just going to move that out of the way for the moment, and let's have a look at the paper itself. So it says, a super new paper for all football fans. Copyright IPC Magazine Limited 1970. Scorcher every Monday, 10th of January 1970. And the cover price was 7 pence. It says there's a great soccer wall chart free inside, and there's images of a goal being scored against the keeper. And at the very bottom there, you've got the prices in Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Rhodesia, East Africa, West Africa, Malaysia, and Malta and Ireland. Okay, that's the front cover. Let's just whiz it over to the back. And on the back, we've got this Start Your Collection Today. And you've got all different emblems or badges of the football clubs, top football clubs at the time. And this says Start Your Collection Today, football club badges. You've got Norwich City, Torquay, Arbroath, Liverpool, Oldham, Rangers, Hearts, and West Ham. So that was the first 8 badges that was printed on the back of the comics, and this went through, they were on the back of the comic for a very long time, until all of the badges were pretty much printed at some point or other. Okay, so that's the comic, front and back covers. Let's open it up and let's have a look at the contents. So I've opened the comic. This is the first page. Now, the trouble with these comics back in the time, because of the type of of paper that they used when they made these magazines, you tend to have a little bit of bleed through of the colour. So as you can see, there's colour bleeding through the first page because the paper was thin. So you got the colour on the front page, and it bleeds through onto the first page, and that's because of the type of paper that was used back in the day. It was very cheap paper, not like you would expect in a comic these days, but it was quite cheap paper that they used to keep the costs down. Anyway, the very first story is Royals Rangers, and that's a three-page comic strip story about the Royals. And now the interesting thing about this comic was that you had the comic strips in there, obviously, and you had actual factual information about current football players, football teams, and so on. In the paper as well as the comic strips. So it wasn't just a comic, it was, I think that's why they called it a paper, because it's you got the comic strips, but then you've got the factual information as well. And this first article is all about Jackie Charlton, who was obviously one of the England World Cup winners in 1966. And it says, How I Began by Jack Charlton. That's his story. Scorcher Team of the Week. And this is the Hull Secondary School Wilmslow, and if you sent in pictures of your school team and it was published, you will win something. Your school 11 can also win a Super Scorcher football, so that's what you will win. And then of course Roll of Honour is Celtic, who won the European Cup Winners' Cup, the European Cup winner in 1967. Comic strip Sub, which is a comedy comic strip, and then we've got Kangaroo Kid, and we're back into mono colours now, which is black and white, and obviously this one is red, again you're getting a little bit of bleed through from the colour onto the next page. Goalpost, well that's where you write your letters and the editor answers, and there's usually a little competition that you can fill in, or you can write into the magazine at the bottom there. Bobby the Blues is the next comic strip story. Again, it's monocolour, black and white and blue this one, before it goes into just black and white. And again, it's a 3-page comic strip story which continues in the next issue, as they all did. Noel, and this is his Soccer's Biggest Big Head. See if you can catch him out. I think these are questions and answers, I think, all about current footballers of the time. Remember, we were back in 1970 we were in. Billy's Boots, again, this was a very popular comic strip story that ran for quite some time, and that's a full colour one in actual fact. It's only 2-page. Challenge your chum to quiz football, and that's a game of quiz, and you play it just like a football game, and the first one to get the centre spot is the winner. I think that's how it played. Paxtons Powerhouse, another comic strip story, which is a 3-pager again. Also all about soccer again. And then the Gold Thief. Now this is a full story, but without the comic strip. So it's just a story, and you've just got that image at the beginning, and that goes on to be continued in the next issue as well. The Byrd of Paradise Hill, and then that was a very popular comic strip as well, which continued for many years in the magazine. And I think that also ended up in Tiger. Anyway, that's a comic strip, black and white with monocolour pink. Dave McKay of Derby County, a floodlight on him. Lags 11, which is a little comedy sketch comic strip. 3 in next week, another Smashing Wall chart. Plot your team's ups and downs over the past 20 years. So order your copy of Scorcher today. And then we've got the big match preview, Southampton versus Everton. So Southampton receive Everton at the Dell on January the 17th and will be determined to improve their league position with a win. But this will not be easy, as Everton have an impressive record in away matches this season. The Blues are putting in an even stronger bid for the league championships than they did last season when they finished 3rd.
Last time they visited Southampton in October 1968, they were hit by a shock goal after just 15 minutes. There we go, and that is the story of that game, and that brings us to the end of the magazine, or the paper, or the comic, whatever you like to call it. However, we do have this amazing chart which comes with it, and I'll just open it up because it is huge. Okay, so that is the wall chart. Now, it says your team records for the past 20 years. Now, this is the finishing positions of the clubs from whatever year it is. So this one here is a 1955-56 season. Then you've got Manchester United 1, Division 1, Blackpool was 2nd, Wolverhampton Wanderers were 3rd, Man City 4th, Arsenal 5th, Birmingham 6th, and then you have Burnley, Bolton, Sunderland, Luton, Newcastle, Portsmouth, West Bromwich Albion, Charlton, Everton, Chelsea, Cardiff, Tottenham, Preston, Aston Villa, Huddersfield, and Sheffield United. Division 2, Sheffield Wednesday, Leeds, Blackburn. Oh, I won't read them all out, but that basically gives you an idea of what the finished positions were. Interesting, and if we go on to this 1956-57 season, you can see Division 2, top was Leicester, 2nd was Nottingham Forest, and 3rd was Liverpool. So Liverpool were not always a Premiership side, and the previous season as well, Liverpool were also, in fact, all 3 of these seasons, 4 seasons, 5 seasons, all 6 of those seasons there, so 55 to 61, Liverpool are actually in Division 2. Now they are the Premiership leaders, and they look like they're going to win the Premiership this year. So there we are. That is very interesting. Just trying to see when they actually were they actually in any lower division, from what I can see in here. Liverpool were in Division 1 in 49-50. So when did they get relegated? Oh, so Liverpool finished bottom of the league at Division 1 there in 1953-54, and they were relegated that season. So the following season, they finished midway through Division 2. So they're very, very interesting reading of football teams and where their positions were between 1949-50 season to 1960-61 season. That makes very interesting reading indeed. For all of you that are very interested in the history of your football clubs, this would be ideal. I mean, 1950. 49-50 season, so what are we now? We're 2025, so it's 75 years ago when this wall chart first came out. So 49-50 season. We're currently in 24-25 season. So there we are. But very, very interesting reading right up to 1960-61 season, where the 60-61 season, Tottenham Hotspur won the league. Sheffield Wednesday 2nd, the Wolverhampton Wanderers were 3rd, Burnley 4th, Everton 5th, Leicester 6th, Man United was 7th, Blackburn were 8th, Aston Villa 9th, West Bromwich Albion were 10th, Arsenal were 11th, Chelsea 12th, Man City 13th, Nottingham Forest 14th, Cardiff were 15th, West Ham 16th, Fulham 17th, Bolton 18th, Birmingham 19th, Blackpool 20th, Newcastle 21st, and Preston 22nd. So there we are. That was the team records for the past 20 years, presented free with Scorcher in the very first edition of the Scorcher comic. Okay, so now you're going to ask me how well this comic did. Well, I think we've already pretty much gone through that. I mean, it was quite a popular comic, and for it to have as many issues as it did, even in the single issues, it was 77 issues before it merged, probably because Score was the subscribers to Score was dropping, which is probably why it became Scorcher and Score. Eventually it absorbed Score and just carried on the Scorcher, and then finally it merged with Tiger, probably again because it's the figures
of the subscribers were dropping again. The numbers were dropping. So that's what they used to do back in the day when comics were very, very big. They'd launch an awful lot of comics, but as the popularity decreased on the comic, they would merge them with one of the others to make them a better comic, or keep the best comic strips from each one in one, with more information and so on. I always remember when I was a kid, I used to have Warlord and Bullet, and then they merged those two into one comic back in the day. So yeah, I can remember being very upset about that, because it was my two comics that I would receive every weekly, and then it became one comic. So yeah, quite disappointed with that. But anyway, that's another story. So yes, it done remarkably well. There was a lot of issues released over quite a long period, even though it did have mergers, but really with the number of issues with Scorcher in the title was 548. It's a lot of issues over a quite a long period of time, from 1970 right through to 1980, I think it was. So yeah, quite a long time. So a good 10 years of being in the forefront of kids comics. Okay, let's move forward to 2025, which is where we are today. So we are moving forward 55 years. Now, I hear you ask, do these comics come up very often on the platforms? No, they don't, to answer your question. They occasionally appear. Now, I did have a hunt through the platforms, and I couldn't see any of them that, well, I found a couple of these first issues, but with no free gifts. I didn't find any free gifts, and obviously the ones that I did see on the platforms from over the last 3 years, they were in various states of really poor condition, really, in comparison to what we have here. Now, what we have here, this is a former shop stock. Now, obviously, it doesn't look pristine condition because of the type of paper that they used on these types of magazines. So they use very cheap paper. So the edges of the paper has started to tan, and that's normal with these type of comics back in the 70s, well, the 50s, 60s and 70s, and even to the early 80s. The paper wasn't great. It was the cheapest paper they could find, and it was it really to keep the costs of the actual comic down for massive distribution. So yeah, so they are beginning to brown slightly, but other than that, the comic is in absolutely fantastic condition. It's never been touched. It was a shop, former comic book shop. Now, whether it was been there since it was new, I can't answer that. I don't know for sure. The owners can't remember everything, because they did used to buy lots of comics and have them on a table in the middle of the shop, and there was all sorts of different comics available. And obviously, when they closed down, we were fortunate to buy out all of their stock, and there's an umpteen amount of comics that we will be listing well, for years to come, I'd imagine, because we've got thousands and thousands of them. But this particular one is the very first issue. It is in the best condition that you will probably find of this comic anywhere. And of course, it has got that amazing wall chart, the free gift that came with it, which you just cannot find for love or money these days. But yes, we do have it, and it is available. Now, we do have a couple of copies of these available. So when we bought out the stock, I think there was 2 or 3, and they're all together with the wall chart. So they're all in as good as condition as this. So maybe they were stock that had been there from the very beginning. So I can't be 100% sure about that, but they certainly look like they've never been sold. So, and as of right now, today, these comics are available to purchase on the Moustache website, which you can get to very simply by clicking the link below. It will take you straight to the website, where you'll be able to find this and many other vintage comics. and many other vintage toys, games and collectibles come to that. There's over 10,000 products currently available on the website for you to view and purchase at your leisure. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because we're uploading videos for every new item that goes into the website. There will be something for everybody, and I am absolutely positive that this is something that you're not going to want to miss, because we literally have thousands and thousands of new items which we're shooting videos for and uploading on a daily basis. So if there's something in particular you're looking for, something old that you've never been able to find, something quirky that you might want to buy for a friend, or perhaps just something from your childhood that you'd like to own again to help you recuperate those long lost childhood memories, well, stay tuned, keep watching, because you never know the next item we upload could be that item you've been looking for. Okay, that is it for me on this particular item. I do hope you've enjoyed reviewing this wonderful, wonderful old Scorcher comic with me. Thank you for watching, and we will see you again next video. So bye for now.